Okay, listen, today we're gonna we saw the video there about Floyd's wealth, his success and everything. One thing we found out when we were in Glasgow, Floyd gave us an insight on who he was before he became Money Mayweather. And a lot of people left the auditorium pleased, inspired, and influenced by what this man had to say. So we'll probably start at the beginning. We didn't all over again. Grand Rapids, 7 deep in the house. How did it start for you?
Ask that again, I'm sorry.
How did it start for you? It's not always been Money Mayweather, has it? How did it start with you?
Well, it all started, this dream that I had always started with my father, It wasn't me just by myself, My father, he was a fighter, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. His younger brother, Roger Mayweather, was a fighter. His other brother, Jeffrey Mayweather, was a fighter. And it was just a dream come true. I've always believed, I always just stayed grounded. Whereas, you guys see the flashiness, but I just kept believing, I kept working hard. After each victory, I worked harder and harder and harder to stay at the top. It's tougher to stay at the top than to get to the top.
On the piece up there, it said you created a character, and people don't realize that's the character. That's not Floyd.
Well, people want to be entertained. I think a lot of fighters in today's time think that it's just about being able to fight good. It takes more than just being able to fight good. You have to have a certain appeal about yourself, a certain aura about yourself. You have to be able to communicate with certain individuals. You have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to adapt and be able to adjust to just many different fight styles and many different people. If you're trying to go to that next level, if you're trying to get to the pinnacle.
Ali said he was inspired by a flamboyant wrestler, and that's why he was so braggadocious, so loud. Were you inspired by anybody to be who you are today?
I think I was just a little bit of everyone. Not just one person. The first flashy people that is the people that's from your neighborhood. The hustlers, the go-getters. That's what we call them, the go-getters. But once I was 16, my dad had went to prison, and when my dad went to prison, I met a guy by the name of Don Hale, and he wanted to be my sponsor. And really, it's really not a sponsor when you're an amateur. It's really just a manager. So he wanted to be my sponsor, and he's a guy that he introduced me to a different lifestyle, where he took me to his estates. I was his first fighter. I stayed in his home, and we used to go when I was 17 years old. I used to fly first class to Las Vegas and go to the big fights. Stay at the MGM Grand, and I used to just keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully one day, it'll be me, and it was.
He obviously educated you and inspired you to taste such success and to show you what you needed. You didn't even stay in school, did you? That's because you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
Well, as far as with school, I encourage every young male and female just to stay in school. School is extremely important. I was just blessed with a talent, and my mother was on drugs. She was in a very, very rough, predicament, and I didn't want her to be in that predicament anymore. I love her. She's one of the strongest ladies that I know. I really, really love my mother, love my family. She didn't have life insurance, and those are the things that I wanted my family to have. So I took my chance and I left school. I rolled the dice. I always knew that school would be there, but I knew with my talent and my skills, an opportunity that I had only comes once in a lifetime. So I took that chance, and it paid off.
That hunger came from having nothing when you was younger.
Well, at first, I never really had a stable home. I lived with my dad and mother, Bernice Mayweather. I lived with her. Sometimes I would stay with my mother. Sometimes I would stay with my dad. I really never had a stable home. And then I think I was 8 or 9. I went to stay in Jersey for a couple of years. And when I stayed in Jersey, we had it very, very rough. There was 7 of us in a 1-bedroom. no hot water, no lights. But I, I always knew, from day one, from the day I knew, when I first went to the boxing gym, I knew I was going to be a mega superstar.
You spoke about flying to Las Vegas at the age of 17, first class. At what point did you realize then, what started to happen, things are starting to turn my way?
I boxed so many champions. I boxed different champions. TV! Thank you. I boxed so many different champions at a young age, and that's when I knew what level I can get to. One of the first guys I boxed was Pernell Whitaker. I boxed Pernell Whitaker when I was 18, and it was good work. I gave him real good work, so it was real good work, and I was only 18. When I was 17, I boxed Frankie Randall, and a lot of people is not familiar with the name Frankie Randall. Frankie Randall is the first guy that ever defeated Julio Cesar Chavez. He's the first guy that Julio Cesar Chavez lost to when I think Chavez was 80. I think he was like 79-0 before he lost his first fight. But, a lot of times you see, well, Chavez lost his first fight when he was 79-0, but within 49 fights, I beat more champions than any fighter in the history of the sport. Very good fighter.
And most fighters, as they're coming through, especially if times are hard when you're younger, the first thing they want to do is take care of their family, take care of their friends, take care of the people around them, and then they can enjoy the wealth they've amassed. Is that what you did?
Well, what I did was when I first, because I was 19 when I received a lot of money. By the time I was 20, I was already a millionaire. But it wasn't where I wanted to be. That's not where I wanted to be. It really wasn't all about the money, because money is really just comfort. I wanted to put my mother and my family in the best position. My sister, my two sisters, and my nephew, I wanted them to have the best. So what ended up happening was I left my mother in the inner city, but I still made sure I was taking care of her. She was very, very comfortable. I didn't want no one to know that I had the type of money that I had. People knew they see me on TV. They was thinking like, okay, he probably got a couple bucks, not enough. If he had enough money, his mother wouldn't be in this same home that she's in. It wasn't a rough home, because by that time she was in a lot better situation. But once I got to where I wanted to get to, because I was having to replace a condo being built, a condominium home, being customized. And then I eventually moved her to the condominium, then moved her to another place. So now she's extremely comfortable.
Now we're going to talk. We're going to get to the toys eventually. Life started to change for you. Well, how did you manage to keep that motivation when the money started coming in, the titles started coming in? Because the amount of titles and fights you won, and the pressure you were getting.
I've never been the type of fighter, or just the type of entertainer to go, once I fight, I don't try to go pick up a book and say, oh yeah, I'm on the cover. Most of the times, one of my fans will bring a book to me, then I was like, I didn't even know. I didn't even know. My whole life, I just ate slave. My whole life, the only thing I focused on was my craft. I dedicated myself to boxing from morning to night, every day. I practiced day in and day out, hours and hours and hours, even like for a super fight, for a pay-per-view fight. What I do is, if I go to the boxing gym and I feel like even when I spar, if a guy wins, if he get the best of me in 2 rounds, out of 10 rounds, I feel like I didn't do good. So I'm very, very hard on myself. And even with me being in the sport, since after the Arturo Gatti fight, I think that's when my body started to break down. As far as just my hands, really started to break down, and my body started to break down. When I went into the fight with Oscar De La Hoya, I wasn't 100%. Mostly all the biggest fights, I wasn't 100% when I beat these guys, and I didn't have to even use my A game.
How many guys you watched when you were preparing for these guys, or did you? Who was guys who's you look a bit of a style there, a bit of a style here? Were you inspired by any of the fighters in or out the ring?
Well, way back, in the 80s, we had VHS, VCRs and VHS tapes. So I used to watch all the legendary champions. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, Michael Dokes, Larry Holmes. There's so many legendary champions that I would watch. And I'll just study each fighter, just study and watch each fighter. And I just wanted to be in that same position, but then I said to myself, when I get to that position, what will I do? So I said the ultimate goal is to pass that fighter. And I'm looking forward to finding the next Floyd Mayweather. I want to see a guy, I want to see my records be broken, and I want to see a guy surpass me.
Did it ever make you complacent when these guys like Sugar Ray Leonard or Ali and people like came up and tapped me on the back and said, "Boy, you're just outstanding"?
I commend Sugar Ray Leonard and guys like Muhammad Ali, and even legendary champions from the UK and Europe. Those are the guys that paved the way for me to be where I'm at today. So I'm very, very thankful. Sugar Ray Leonard came up to me and said, not just inside the ring, outside the ring, you're remarkable.